Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our session that we will be co-presenting with our partner at Spotfire. And today's topic for our webinar is Spotfire Copilot. So we've had a ton of interest from different clients that we've been talking to over the last several months. And so we thought we would get together today and share a little bit about how it works, what the architecture looks like, how to implement, and some training around that. So welcome again, everybody. Oh, and are we having trouble hearing? Sorry, I just got
Sorry, try again. You might have to start again because I went on mute, so I don't know if that's part of it. Can you hear us now? If anybody can comment in the... All right.
So
okay.
it
So
might be Ling's
perfect.
audio. I'll let her know.
Yeah, Ling, it might be your audio, but glad you can hear everybody. Well, let's get started. In the interest of time, for those of you that have already joined, we do still have some folks joining here that are a little bit late. As well, we are waiting for one of our presenters coming from another meeting, so we might turn things around a little bit, but stick with us and we will talk through. And anybody that isn't presenting, if you wouldn't mind going on mute so we don't got any background noise, that would be great. Okay, so I will take you and let's do some introductions today. So with us today and going to be speaking will be Vaibhav Gedigeri, and he is the principal data architect at Spotfire and the Cloud Software Group. And he is based out of New York City. So welcome to him. And he'll be joining us very shortly here. Myself, Amanda Summers, I'm the Director of Client Engagement here at Cadeon, and I'm based out of the Calgary office. And then we also have Kelly Blair, who many of you know. She is our certified trainer and data specialist, and she is based out of Denver. So welcome to our presenters today. So just wanted to touch briefly on the agenda. So obviously welcome and introductions will be done by myself. I have just a brief couple of slides I wanted to share with you before we kick off. Then we're going to go through the Spotfire Copilot overview and update with a little bit of a demonstration included in that. And then we're also going to have Kelly just take us through some of the installation and training offerings that we can help with. It's not quite as simple as flipping on a button. It takes a little bit of planning and infrastructure support there. And then we'll open it up for live Q&A because we do know there have been a ton of questions and a lot of interest. So we want to try to help answer those today. And if we can't, we're really happy to book another meeting with you all to have a further discussion. So just wanted to give you, so for those of you, I think a lot of you are our clients and understand who we are, but just why Cadeon, why are we presenting Spotfire Copilot? We are a tier 1 Spotfire partner, and we do operate globally. So we have clients all around the world, and we really work closely with Spotfire on helping resolve client issues, providing support, and we're sort of an extension of the team there. We have been in business for over 18 years, and we've got, like I said, that global depth and breadth. As you see here, Kelly's out of Colorado. We have other people in California, across Canada, so we're able to support you no matter where you are. And last year we helped over 100 customers, so we're really proud to be able to work with so many great customers from all different industries. We really are focused around data and AI. So we're not application builders, we're not infrastructure installers. We focus primarily on that data that you guys have and anything related to the AI capabilities there. And working with us, you'll find we really do want to teach you how to do the work so that you can go in and support your own environments and your own teams there. We have been doing a lot of work around ML models as well as AI and getting into that predictive prescriptive area that everybody is trying to ascertain. So we're happy to help and talk about that. We also specialize in data virtualization. And then Kelly on the phone here is one of our certified trainers and support experts. So we're able to help our clients kind of from planning and implementation around governance and architecture all the way through to support and training. So just a couple of quick announcements. One of our data scientists, Cameron Imam, will be speaking at the Society of Petroleum Engineers Conference, which is being held on September 30th. So if you're interested in hearing more, it is an online seminar. So if you are interested in that, please let me know. Be happy to give you the details and how to kind of get registered for that. And then we're still waiting for a final date on the next release of Spotfire 14.6. It will be an LTS version, and we're expecting it to be around November, but we haven't seen a firm date yet, so we'll keep you updated as these things emerge. And the last thing I wanted to talk about here before I do pass it over is why are we hosting this webinar? We wanted to continue the series of lunch and learns that have interests of our clients and being able to address some of those interests. We're also looking, when we get into data and analytics, specifically democratizing the advanced analytics side, not every customer has a data scientist on hand. They don't always have the luxury of having a whole bunch of different diverse skill sets. So we can really help get in there and making these kind of complex analytics a little bit easier to use by everybody. Also improving the governance and accuracy, especially when implementing something like Copilot, where you're getting into multiple data sources being accessed, things like that. Definitely want to look at how things are governed and how accurate that actual data is. And then Spotfire right now is letting folks leverage Copilot at no cost from a license fee. So it's a really good opportunity to do a proof of concept or put it into production and start to get to use it. And then also we've been actually asking clients are looking at how can we accelerate things? How long does this have to take? We don't have months and months and huge budgets. So we're helping accelerate these proofs of concepts and use cases quite quickly through there. And then, of course, we wanted to provide you with an overview of what the Spotfire and Copilot and how it functions. So that is the agenda and the why we're kind of doing that, and what you can kind of expect out of today's session is accelerated insights, natural language interaction, faster analysis, enhanced accessibility, explainability, smarter workflows, and of course, data interrogation. So this is what both Kelly and Vaibhav will be talking about throughout their demonstration. And with that, I just wanted to validate if Vaibhav is here yet, or if we're going to skip to you, Kelly, and go back.
I have not seen him join, so hopefully he's doing okay and will be joining us shortly. So in the meantime, I guess we can we can kind of skip to my part, which is sort of at the end of what to do after you've seen the demo. But I can kind of get in here in a little bit, and we'll just get my part done, and hopefully Vaibhav will be able to join us shortly. He is set to do a demonstration, but since he is not here, let me talk a little bit about it. So I'm sure everybody here has heard, about AI. You really can't seem to turn on the news or get into any sort of tech-based articles without seeing something about it. And one of the nice things about Spotfire is that it can make use of AI, and not just like going online and using some type of AI, chat GPT, whatever it is, to kind of Google questions and well, that's a separate thing, but, go in and search for questions and prompt it and things like that. Spotfire actually has it set up so that you can incorporate it into your Spotfire application directly, which is really nice from both a development and an understanding your pre-built or the dashboards that have already been built in there. So from a consumer perspective, going in and looking at a dashboard, even though we've built out all of these wonderful things in Spotfire, sometimes it's still hard to see the forest for the trees, if you will. And so you can actually bring up an additional panel, which when Vaibhav is here, he'll be able to do a little bit of a demonstration on that. Unfortunately, my environment is not up and running at the moment, but I can talk through it, and then hopefully, like I said, he'll be joining us and you'll get to see it firsthand. But essentially it brings up another dashboard, whether you're logged in as a consumer user or a developer, you'll have this additional panel within your dashboard. Now, as a consumer user, you can start to ask it questions about the data that's there, helping you kind of find those insights that maybe, hopefully you're finding them a little bit easier with Spotfire in the first place, but you still might have other ones that you're missing, or you may not be certain where to go with that. So you can use natural language queries, to one of the points that Amanda brought up earlier in terms of making it a little bit easier. You can just type in your questions and it is going to analyze that data, take a look at it, come back with some responses for you. Now, on the other side of things, you can also, as a developer, use it to help develop the visuals and the dashboards in the first place. And I have to say, for anybody that has done any type of development work, especially once you start getting into those data functions and you're trying to troubleshoot and get things to work just a certain way, it can be exceedingly helpful for that and really improve the time to get started. There's a really cool example that Vaibhav has to share with us, and I'm hoping he'll make it here shortly and be able to share that with you. But I'm going to leave that front end side to the later part when he's going to join us and talk a little bit about what needs to be done on the back end to support all of this. So, it's not quite as simple as going in and adding a web player or adding automation services to your Spotfire environment. As you can see here with this diagram, there is a bigger infrastructure side of things to help support it. So there's both back end and front end components. From the back end, there are going to be several kind of core components that are going to be deployed as Docker containers. So if you look, and unfortunately my mouse is not live on here, but if you look kind of to the left, the upper left area, you'll see the data loaders section there. So this is one of the key components. The data loaders are going to be responsible for basically ingesting and processing data from different sources. It can be from the Spotfire documentation. It can be additional documents that you load into it. Of course, your Spotfire dashboards, all of that. We have all of that information that we need to load into the environment. Those data loaders then can load that data into the vector DB, which if you see that blue database icon kind of on the right side over there, that's your vector DB. That vector DB can be on-prem or it can be cloud hosted. And it's basically there for storage and retrieval of those kind of high dimensional vectors. You'll also see on the rightmost side, you'll see towards the bottom, the LLM there, kind of in a teal color, if you will. Those are our large language models. Again, these can also be self-hosted or can also be accessed via API from a cloud provider. So you've got these different components, your data loaders, your vector database, your LLMs, and then there's also the orchestrator, and that's kind of that gray box, if you will, kind of in the center of everything, which kind of makes sense because the orchestrator manages the overall workflow, coordinates interactions between the various system elements. And if you can look at those 4 different pieces, of course, you're going to have all of the integration between those various pieces. So can we advance to the next slide, Amanda, if you would? So with that in mind, there's a lot here to consider, both architecturally and for the individual components. So in terms of which LLMs, you can see here we have a list of some of the different options that are available, and you can see there is a wide range. So you need to be thinking about which LLM are you going to be using. You can also see various options for the vector DB, and these are all going to be running in containers. So generally that's probably going to be Docker, but it also could be Kubernetes. So you really have to think about how are you going to bring all of these pieces together to create this much more complex environment. I've been working with Spotfire, gosh, getting close to a decade now, both directly when I was at Spotfire prior to being at Cadeon. And I will say that of all the things I've done at Spotfire, from front end development to back end administration and maintaining it, this is probably the most complex thing that I have seen or done is setting this up. But it's definitely worth it. I mean, you're going to get so much more in return, which hopefully we'll get a chance to show you. But there is a lot of work that goes into this. So one of the things that we can do is help you understand all of these different choices. How do you determine which LLM, which vector DB, which container approach are you going to be using? Amanda, can we advance to the next slide as well? And even, prior to that, what's your overall architecture? Are you fully on-prem with all components, including your vector DBs and LLMs hosted within your own infrastructure? Are we looking at more of a hybrid cloud where you have some of those core Docker components, your data loaders, orchestrator, of course, those pieces on-prem, but then taking the vector DBs and the LLMs and putting those in, leveraging cloud-based vector DBs and LLM APIs, which will provide some enhanced performance potentially and some scalability. Or potentially you can even go with a multi-cloud approach. So depending upon how this plays out in your organization, you may find that you want it to continue to grow. And we have the ability to do distributed deployments across multiple cloud providers, giving you redundancy, hopefully optimizing resource utilization and such. So there's a lot of complexity to this. And not only do we have those 4 key core back end components, there's also a little bit of front end. You do have to do some deployments directly to the server so that ultimately these can be pushed to the cloud. This will work both within your analyst environment for those developer type users, or for the more consumer based users, you do have the access to the in the web player, assuming it's been configured that way. So there's a lot here that needs to be considered. So that's where Cadeon can certainly step in and help you with that, help you understand all of the various choices that you have, and help you determine not only which ones are going to be right for your environment, your use cases and such, and then of course help you implement that, because not only are there the components, but you have the interfaces between those, integrating those, getting all that set up. It can be fairly complex. We have to do some things with token management to make sure that everything stays up and running nicely. So needless to say, there's a lot. You get a lot in return. You just have to do a bit of work up front to get it set up. Amanda, can we advance to the next slide? So as I was talking about, not only the integration points, there's also security requirements, looking at your data sources. Remember, those data loaders are going to connect to the various internal and external repositories of data, making sure that we're getting all of the information that we need to be able to have Copilot effectively get you the answers that you need. Again, there's that vector DB interface, which the orchestrator communicates with the vector DB. Again, we're looking, that's where we're storing and retrieving, so we need that to be set up correctly. And obviously the LLMs as well, making sure that all of those pieces connect in. Amanda, can we move on to the next piece? So implementation-wise, we're looking at back-end setup. You need to set up and configure your LLM, your vector DB, your data loader or loaders. If you have any contextual documents that you want to bring in, the nice thing about this is it's not that it can certainly help you with the Spotfire documentation. So instead of having to go through and search the Spotfire documentation, search the API if you're writing a data function, it can help with that. But you can also add your own documents to this as well. and leverage those and include your own kind of business processes and insights and as part of all this. But of course, we need to get all that loaded in. We also need to set up and configure the orchestrator, which, as the name suggests, orchestrates all of this, gets everything working together. And then, like I said, there's that API token. Obviously need to do some tests to make sure everything's working. On the front end, we do need to do a bit of a deployment on the server and then get that that component configured and tested. And then there is some ongoing administration. That token management piece is probably the biggest part of that, making sure that everything stays up and running and going smoothly. So I think I've got one more slide on this as well. Amanda, is that correct? Yep. So with all that in mind, and I'm hoping Vaibhav will be joining us shortly, but we'll see on this. If not, maybe we'll go back and do our best with the slides that he has. But as I said, there's a lot going on. So not only can we help you with the whole installation and configuration, making sure that you've made the right decisions, that you've got all the different pieces integrated, communicating, all of that, there are some then tasks going forward. So from a training perspective, we do offer 3 courses around Copilot. One of those is going to be on the operations piece for Tim, you might be able to navigate back on the bar there at the bottom. I'm seeing slide 39. Not sure about everybody else. And also good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. So operations, that's going to help you kind of give you the, overall, now that you've got this environment, how do you continue to maintain it? And it's going to cover some of the key basically the setup, that foundational setup, going into a much deeper dive than what I've just done here in the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes, however long it's been. Getting really probably the biggest piece that you have to do from an ongoing maintenance is going to be that token handling and authentication. So the operations course is going to kind of focus on how do you keep this up and running smoothly for your organization. Now, on the other side, we've built this wonderful tool, and of course, we want to use it. So as I said before, there's sort of 2 types of users. There's your consumers, who are users that want to, basically, get answers to the data exploration you're doing with the dashboards that you have available to you. So there's a little bit of a trick to this in terms of prompting. If anybody here has gone out to ChatGPT and tried asking questions, sometimes it works really smoothly. Sometimes you have to kind of iterate and you have to say, okay, well, I got part of the answer here, but now I need to circle back. And it is a bit of an iterative process there to really fine tune those prompts and get those pieces there. So that consumer course really helps to show you how to access the Copilot through Spotfire, how to effectively prompt, how to kind of get those answers out, how to also bring in your own documentation and ask questions around that as well. And then the other side of this, which is probably my favorite part of it, is that developer piece. Like I said, I think I started to say this earlier, but as anybody who has ever tried to write a data function in Spotfire, it can at times be a bit of a journey. And early on, before Copilot was really a huge thing here, I myself have gone out and done a couple of queries. Oh, and our guest speaker is here, so I'm going to finish up a little bit, and then I will turn it over to the cool parts that you've been looking for. But that last developer piece, not only can it help you answer questions from a consumer perspective, but it can help you build those dashboards. If you're trying to do something more complicated from a visual perspective, you can give it prompts. You can have it help you write data functions. So there's a lot there. And that said, now that I've gone through how Cadeon can support you, I'm going to turn it over to the star of our webinar, our guest speaker. So I'm going to thank you, everybody. Hopefully that gives you a little bit idea of how we can help you. And now let's get back to our main topic.
Excellent.
All right. Well,
thank you, Kelly. Welcome, Vaibhav.
Hello. Hey, apologies there. I had a sudden power outage, so I'm out, and I might not be able to turn my camera on, but I hope my internet connection is steady enough for me to breeze through this. Thank you all for your patience. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Amanda, do you want me to be, are you going to be running through this, or do you want me to?
I'm happy to do that, Vaibhav, if that'll be easier. I've got it up now.
Yeah, sure. So
okay, perfect.
Perhaps over to the next slide. Thank you. Okay. All right. So, well, firstly, hello, everyone. My name is Vaibhav Gedigeri. I am a principal data scientist at Spotfire. And today I have the pleasure to join the Cadeon team and talking a little bit more about our ongoing or recent initiative around AI in Spotfire, specifically Spotfire Copilot. So before we get into Spotfire Copilot, I just want to quickly, paint the picture here, why Spotfire and how Spotfire really differentiates itself from others. So Spotfire is what I call as a visual data science platform. So, we have Spotfire really allows you to do interactive visualization and kind of combine that with data science and domain knowledge. And the intersection of these three is where we feel Spotfire really stands out. Next slide, please. All right. And could you just click that one more time, Amanda? All right. Thank you. So when we talk about Spotfire, we really think about three main personas that come into picture. Well, first one is the data science developer. The second one is a visual data scientist, and the third one is the business users. When I speak to a lot of customers myself, we really kind of see that spread of Spotfire users across these three main users. And we're going to talk about how Spotfire Copilot can really empower some of these personas and actually increase efficiency for some of these personas as well. And for example, data science developers have really found Spotfire Copilot to kind of really increase their efficiency, build a lot more of those what if analysis, answer a lot of those what if analysis, whereas we've seen the business users who are accessing Spotfire Copilot via web, really finding Copilot helpful when it comes to just understanding what the DXP is all about, or even just extracting insights for report generation. Next slide, please. All right. Okay. So, and these are some of the personas, right? When we're talking about energy, we particularly see our users who are coming from all of these areas. From upstream, we have the geoscience engineers, you have the drilling and completions engineer persona, and we also have the production engineering. And you can see how we're going all the way from capital optimization all the way to completion planning, and even doing some sort of DCA, which is a decline curve analysis. And we'll be going through how Copilot can really kind of fit into some of these use cases and really kind of stand out. Next slide, please. All right, so now that we have a little bit of an understanding, now I can kind of jump into Spotfire Copilot and where Copilot is as of today. So Spotfire Copilot is a natural language extension to Spotfire. We started working on this initiative about 2.5 years ago at this point, and we've made 4 major releases up till now. The latest release on the community being Spotfire 2.0. We do have Spotfire 2.1, which is due to release very, very soon. With that release, we've done quite a few things. First thing is just integrations to LLMs. So we really want to meet where our customers are at. So Spotfire Copilot can work with Azure OpenAI or just OpenAI in isolation. I can also work with Claude via AWS, Gemini via GCP and Vertex AI, and also you could choose to deploy Spotfire Copilot on-prem via models like Cohere and Ollama. Now, for those who are aware, some of our core features for Spotfire Copilot allowed users to do general Q&A. So let's say that you're in a Spotfire DXP, and you wanted to ask questions that are not necessarily related to the DXP, but more around the topic itself, users can do that. Users can also ask more of the product help documentation type of question. So this really helps, I would say, more for the developer persona, for examples, or those who are building out analysis. And if they want to know how to write a specific, let's say, expression per se, you can now actually ask Copilot, and Copilot will be able to guide you through that. The third one is a pretty important one, which is what we call as custom conversation. And this feature really allows users to index, or customers to index their own proprietary documents. Now, in case of energy, we've seen quite a few of our customers being able to query something like drilling reports, user manuals, yield reports, research papers per se, and being able to kind of like index into that and do like Q&A via retrieval augmented generation. The last three features are more around inner functionings of the Spotfire itself. This is more for operations that are within Spotfire. So things like interrogating your data, which is within your DXP, all right? Asking questions of the data, like, hey, how were, what was the drilling depth for this particular well across this period of time? And let's say you had 5 or 6 data tables within your DXP, Spotfire Copilot will be able to kind of take that, that initial user prompt, kind of break that into a few things like the metadata that's required to answer this type of question, and then respond back with a definitive answer through a Spotfire query language. We have something called as auto charts. As the name suggests, this is natural language in and charts out. As of today, we support 13 visualizations, and a list of these are available in the documentation, of course. So basically, if the user just wants to create charts, the good part about Spotfire Copilot is you don't really need to tell it like how, or for example, you want to create a specific chart. Let's say that, you don't have to mention, I want to create a scatter plot or create a line chart. While you can, you don't have to. Copilot, in most of the cases, does a really good job of understanding, how to visualize that information and kind of come back to the user and give those options. The last one is more catered toward our developer persona. And while I say it's more catered, I also like to point out that this kind of, through Copilot, we're really seeing the lines being blurred, where we're seeing some of our business users also venturing into this, things like creation of data functions, because it's a lot easier through Copilot now. You can go from natural language in to a data function out. This is one of my favorite features. I use this heavily when I develop DXPs. And I've seen my productivity just kind of blow through the roof in this case as well. So as the name suggests, if the users want to create a data function, all you have to do is just kind of say what you want to do in natural language, and Spotfire Copilot kind of knows how to create the underlying Spotfire data function. Not only does it create the script, but it will also configure the input and output parameters. So all that a user really needs to do is trust the data function and just hook it up to their data tables, and they're good to go. Next slide, please. All right, so I just want to briefly talk about the why piece, which is why Spotfire Copilot. And as we spoke to a lot of our early adopters, some of the things that we really saw was being able to instantly generate value from your data, even if you're new to Spotfire. And we definitely saw that learning curve kind of flatten. And that was one of the good things. Now you have the ability to also like create and modify sophisticated visuals just using all through natural language. Initially we started off by supporting a really small subset. I believe it was about 3 to 5, and as of today, you can pretty much create and modify 13 native Spotfire visualization. You could also rapidly explore data sets. As I said, this is more of what we call as our specific data questions. So doing a lot of the what if scenarios It gives the Spotfire developer a good intuition of what's in the data itself. The next one is kind of generate narrations and reports, and this is particularly helpful with our business users, where when they're looking at fairly large Spotfire applications, this is really helpful when they want to be able to just kind of understand what's happening in the DXP, being able to extract some insights from complicated visuals and kind of just embed that into reports. And that's one thing. You then have the ability to quickly create and integrate data functions, as I just mentioned. We don't just, with Spotfire data functions, you don't just like output the code, but we're actually outputting a data function in itself. So that really kind of saves our developer personas a lot of time, but also allows other users like our business users to kind of venture into the space too. Last but not the least is being able to privately upload your documents, and this is very helpful because a lot of the times there is external knowledge that needs to be embedded with the existing DXP, and you can now do that through the mode functionality in Spotfire Copilot. Next slide, please. Okay. So now that I kind of covered the value, I want to talk about what's coming in Spotfire 2.1. And we've made a few changes across the board when it comes to the core features and all the way down to optimizing the infrastructure. So the first one is really around the explaining of the visual. In the past, we had this feature, but we were really just sending the image or the screenshot of the image to the LLM to then kind of generate a response. And in some cases, we did realize that some of the insights that were generated were not really accurate, because at the end of the day, you can imagine if you take a screenshot of a DXP and it has a lot of visuals, and those visuals can have a lot of markers. Language models are still not at a stage where they do the best job at handling image data, and this kind of led to a few hallucinations. So to counter that, we really now not only pass the image data, but we also pass what we call as the aggregated plot data. And I want to be clear here that we're not passing the raw data, but we're only passing the data that is used to make up that specific visual. And with this, we saw that the insights, especially when you're doing explain visual, talking about trends, outliers, all of those were definitely a lot more accurate, and we saw a big jump in the accuracy there. Just some general improved functionality, as I said, like we made some bug fixes, especially when we're doing multi-turn conversations with creation of visuals. We noticed that some of our customers complained that it would just randomly glitch out. We've now kind of fixed that. We've also done a few things with improving the UI, which is mostly around formatting of our responses. Now, this is kind of a big change for someone who visually looks at it. In the past, we would just kind of throw out the text. There wasn't a lot of use of intelligent markdown, but with this, with this release, you'll see a lot more of the response, especially like longer responses, being formatted in a way that's more digestible. Enhanced security. This was very important as we had a few of our customers who were deploying Spotfire Copilot to production, just saying that they don't want to go and keep updating, tokens and for authentication. So we now just provide short-lived tokens for the orchestrator, and there's just a one-time username and password authentication. So the Spotfire administrator doesn't have to go in at these intervals to kind of reset that process. There is increased instrumentation now. In the past, we allowed our customers to bring in their own tools. Internally at Spotfire, we've been champions of Langsmith. But now, in addition to that, user questions will now be logged to an action log, which can then be accessed by the administrator as well. One of the other things that we noticed was, just around infrastructure and optimizing our orchestration infrastructure layer. And one thing that we did around that was kind of just updating dependencies, and we noticed that some of these images, we were able to optimize them to a point where, these images are a lot smaller now. Just an example, I think one of the data loader images, we were able to compress it down all the way from 9 gigs to a gig. Next slide, please. All right. And if you could click on that video, Amanda, and I can speak over that. So here we have making sure that's playing. If you're talking, Amanda, I can't hear you.
Sorry, Vaibhav, it won't let me click on it to launch it. I'm right mouse clicking and yeah.
I do have. Do you just want me to kind of share my screen?
Yeah, if that's easier.
Yeah, of course. Let me just.
No caller.
Let me just go ahead and bring up my share. There you go. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and share my entire screen. All right. Okay. So let me. That was here. So here I'm going to show you an example of working with a last file. Now this is a very specific type of file in the energy industry, and we're going to see how we can get data from external URLs, ingest that into Spotfire, and actually do some series of manipulations so that we can then do some downstream analysis on it. Now, while this process in itself, I could write out a data function to do it. This would take me a fair bit of time, right? All the way from finding out how to connect to a specific API, get it back into Spotfire, kind of do this development outside Spotfire and bring it back in. This would take me a few hours, but with Spotfire Copilot, I was able to do this in a matter of a few minutes. So you can see here that I'm writing a fairly complex prompt here, which is to create a data function to read last files from these external URLs. And then I do want it to do a series of steps, like things like creating a data function and then smooth certain values and then kind of then pivot them. I do all of this so that I'm able to visualize this type of data in a certain way. And you can see here that it was able to do it just fine. And in fact, as the more detail that you provide, I've noticed that Copilot does a really good job and actually adhering to the instructions. And this pretty much ran in the first go. I didn't even have to edit the script at all. However, my recommendation or the team's recommendation has always been that, we want you to treat Copilot as a Copilot and not as a pilot. So it's always important to trust your script before you run anything else. So you can see here that I was able to create that data function. I was able to run it. And now I'm looking at things like, what should I be looking at in my data? Now, this is very important if you have a lot of data tables, particularly very helpful when you're getting started and you don't really know what data tables are in there. So it does a good job of kind of summarizing all your metadata information as well. And then I'm just going to go back out. All right. Okay, so the next the next step that I want to cover, the use case that I want to cover, is mostly from what we call as daily drilling reports. Now, we heard this from a lot of our energy customers, that they have a lot of these daily drilling reports where it's not very straightforward to extract information and really gather insights from. And we thought that this would be a great use case for Spotfire Copilot, and we took a stab at it, and we realized that there were a few challenges, but we also were able to kind of go around it to get the responses that we wanted. As you can see, like a big chunk of the energy data is unstructured. A lot of the critical details are in these drilling report. While these reports, you could have one every day for hundreds of wells across 10 years. You're talking about thousands of reports at this time. So manual review is time consuming. It's also error prone, and you would risk missing some trends. This also results in kind of slower decision overall, leading to higher costs and operational risks. So why does it matter? I think this is where we teamed up with AWS, and we try to tackle this problem of how we can really take these daily drilling reports at scale, and then not only extract insights, but we wanted to really make sure that it's really efficient, but it's also really accurate at the same time and scalable. So a high-level diagram, like an architecture diagram for this, and I'll kind of keep zooming in and zooming out of this. Is if you go from left to right, you have these PDF reports, and you have a repository of these PDF reports. It goes through parsing procedure. We then kind of what we do is index these into graph databases. One of the things that we noticed in our early experiments was using or transforming these reports into vector dimensions were not yielding really great reports. Vectors don't often capture the semantic reasoning between the texts, and hence a lot of the meaning gets lost. And that's where we saw that using something like a GraphDB, through nodes and the entities, really preserves that relationship and that contextual understanding. And that's kind of where it unlocked a lot of things for us. We then use, we then use a series of agents that would then do specific tasks. And these agents, some agents can focus on just extraction and retrieval. The other agents can focus only on summarization. And what we do is we then take these related nodes and entities, pass that to the underlying LLM, and then generate the response, show that back to the end user. Now, if we were to zoom in a little bit more, how did we do this in AWS? So specifically, we first had a repository of our daily drilling reports. We moved that into an S3 bucket. From the S3 bucket, we basically used a queuing service to make sure that when you're trying to pass in a lot of information all at once, you don't end up in some sort of like timeout type errors. We then take these PDF files and we then chunk these files. And you could use different types of chunking. AWS provides a variety of techniques. And then these chunk files are actually stored back into an S3 bucket again, from which the LLM can ask for specific context. And from there, these chunks are accessible to both the DBs. One is the Neptune GraphDB, and the other one is the OpenSearch VectorDB. And in some cases, we noticed that the model, maybe the question only warrants looking into a VectorDB as opposed to a GraphDB. And in some cases, we noticed that the GraphDB performed better. Finally, that contextual information is then sent down to what we call as a knowledge base in Bedrock service. And that knowledge base basically includes the LLMs in itself. Now, if you were to zoom out a little bit, this is what it would look like from a Spotfire standpoint, right? So on the left, you have your analyst. On the right, we have the magic that's happening behind the scenes. So you could have, a drilling engineer come in and ask questions of a specific well, things like, the distance drilled, things like if there was no drilling activity that happened, like things like summary of activities that happen, all of that can be performed. What really happens is that query is then fed into our Copilot orchestration layer, and that orchestration layer in turn has a bunch of plugins. And these plugins, often reach out to the knowledge base, reach out to the LLMs to summarize, and we get all of that information back into the orchestration layer, and the orchestration layer then feeds that response back into Spotfire Analyst through the chat panel. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to show you a video of how we did this and, what were some of the results. Go ahead and play this. And you can see here, I go into the mode. We have a few modes here. So I select the GraphDB, and then here I'm asking the questions. In total, we had about, I believe, 1,500 reports. And knowing things as simple as just knowing like how many wells I have, that could be often very important. You can see here I'm trying to query like what was the depth of the first well. It's actually able to kind of extract these the right dimensions from the reports. And you can also then start to ask more detailed questions like things like the formations that were formed, or if there were any specific events that happened on a specific day around weather conditions. If there were also any issues, and you can see that all of these, all of this information is in this PDF report, but it's in a very unstructured manner. So if you were to do this through a regular vector DB, we did notice that the rate of hallucination was a lot higher, and it would just sometimes make up information. And we were able to kind of counteract that by using a GraphDB where it was able to do a really accurate extraction. All right, so and these are some of the questions. As you can see here, we're talking about things like formations that were observed, if there was any weight and weather, if there was any sulfide issues, or were there any generic issues with the drilling. And I think this provides a really good holistic overview of how to kind of take this whole set of new data that was having so much of information, and you're now able to do and query iteratively inside Spotfire. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk about, what's next for us, and how do we envision Spotfire Copilot evolving, especially now we've moved on to the age of agents. So as of today, we don't really use agents. We use regular LLM workflows, and we've noticed we've seen a lot of optimization that we could do in terms of accuracy and reliability. However, we've now started to do some early testing of agents, and we've noticed a whole world of new possibilities with agents. Agents not only, kind of make your existing workflows more accurate and reliable, but they also open up a whole new gates, which allow customers and partners to come bring their own agents and kind of configure that within Spotfire Copilot, and going from top left to right. So the analyst and the orchestrator always remain. So now we're taking an approach of a multi-agent workflow where we're going to start off with having what we call as a meta agent or a supervisor agent. And this agent's task really is to first kind of look at the user's input query and actually develop a plan first. Like, how do we solve this problem? And for each of that plan, it will then decide which of the sub-agents, right, to call. And that's what gets passed on. So the work of the supervisor and the coordinator agent is really around making a plan and actually identifying which agents to further call. And in some cases, some of this is very router based, and that's why the meta agent can make this decision, because we don't really want the LLM making that decision. And in other cases, it's the LLM that ultimately decides, which agents and which tools to call. Now you can see here below that we've implemented what we call as a LangGraph server, and this server is going to be pretty much going to be housing all of our agents. You can see here we have Spotfire agent, we have a data virtualization agent, we have a RAG agent, and then we have specific vertical agents as well. Now, each of these agents can then be encapsulated or further reach out to very directed MCP servers that we've been experimenting with. The overall idea pretty much remains the same, but we are moving to a more autonomous system where we notice that these agents are able to plan, have memory that's embedded. As you can see, there's a state DB, so every single time a user is asking questions, all the user queries are persisted across, and when information is passed from one agent to another, the state DB is responsible for maintaining all of that information and passing that information along to the other agents. And then finally, they have the ability to call external tools. These could be, APIs in most cases. And from that point on, if some of the questions, if let's say the RAG agent was the agent that was identified, then we know that there's a separate workflow where it's going to reach out to the vector DB or the graph DB in question, or the knowledge graph in question, and then get the relevant context and kind of pass that information back to the LLM to summarize that final response. One thing that through this approach, what we can also do is not only reach out to just these large models that we have, but through vertical agents, we can now also reach out to smaller models, and this will really help in terms of just token efficiency and also just overall improvements in latency as well. So this is just the future state for how we plan to implement daily drilling reports using an agentic infrastructure. As of today, as I said, we really just do a lot of our workflows are more of LLM workflows that are optimized via prompts. But we've started to do some early testing already with agents and are seeing promising responses coming out of there. We would a similar thing would carry on where we would have agents that are specific. This could be like daily drilling report, but you could also think of having an agent that extracts information from something like a batch manufacturing report, for example. So you could have different agents in the same vertical, and each of these agents will then house or contain custom logic for the use cases in itself. So finally, I want to talk about a little bit of the collaboration that we did with not only AWS, but we've been working with Microsoft since day one as well. For DDR, as I said, one of our challenge was just getting accurate insights from a large number of daily drilling reports, and that's where we work very closely with them using Amazon Bedrock. We really built out these workflows using both OpenSearch, VectorDB, as well as Neptune, and we also did a very comprehensive and exhaustive evals to kind of compare. As I said, we noticed the correctness was almost like close to 94% on unseen reports with custom chunking. So there's and these are chunking by specific sections of drilling reports as opposed to the fixed size. If you remember, I said with AWS Bedrock, you have a lot of ways that you can actually chunk. So you don't always have to do fixed size. We noticed that by doing some customizations to the chunking, we were able to move the needle up. We also noticed a lot of more of the logical coherence across all implementations, be it just OpenSearch or Neptune. We didn't really see any sort of hallucinations or the model making up information that is not present in the report or making invalid inferential decisions. We're also proud to be working with Microsoft very closely. In fact, our very first version of Copilot was a result of a very deep dive workshop with Microsoft, and we've been working very closely with them ever since. So you can check out the story on Microsoft Customer Stories. Kind of just walks over our entire journey. But also, we're not just stopping there. We're continuing to see how Microsoft can help us push boundaries, but also look at other ways of adoption, like things like marketplaces. How can we make Copilot available on marketplaces? So that's a wrap up. You can definitely learn more about Spotfire and more industry specific or energy related solutions by just going to spotfire.com. We have the demo gallery. We also have training enablement. We have a customer success group that you can reach out to anytime. We also have a very rich community now, and you can access Copilot via the community, and you can download our latest version, which is Spotfire Copilot 2.0 from the community exchange. But apart from that, we also have a great team, as you can see here, Athir, Jose, and Boris, who host our Dr. Spotfire office hours. I love these. I watch these all the time when I'm building. They're a great way to pick up these quick tips. So you're more than welcome to go check out some of the videos around Copilot, also in general, just using Spotfire.
Great.
I'll go ahead and stop.
Thank you, Vaibhav. And you also have a great partner here that can help.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
needs it.
Let's not forget.
There is a question, Vaibhav, in the chat, and it says, are we able to separate user permissions and access to be Copilot specific? A few regulations that have to be dug into at audit time, and they'd like users to be able to use AI functions on out-of-scope databases, but locked out in-scope databases for initial context.
Yeah, no, and this is a good question. Yes, you can do that. So the way, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm reading this question wrong. You could have Copilot deployed on very specific deployment regions, and I'm assuming that Spotfire is going to be deployed across nodes and across different regions. So you could actually deploy Spotfire across different regions, and Copilot is going to follow the same user preferences as regular Spotfire does. So you can really kind of restrict access or only provide access to a certain user group. You could do all of that. My best guess here is if you really want to just isolate it from one environment to another, that also includes data sources. My thought here would be to kind of deploy it in a completely new environment. Like if you have, let's say, dev test prod, you might want to just do it on another version of dev, perhaps. And that way you can really isolate the functioning of Copilot. I hope that answers the question. And there's more. There is a lot more information around this in the Getting Started guide as well.
Okay, and then Vaibhav as well. When is the next release of Copilot coming out?
Yeah, well, I can't speak to the exact timelines to that. But if you noticed in the slides, I said coming soon. I moved that from not released to coming soon, so it might give you an idea that we're close enough. We're there, but I can't commit to a date. But we're very close.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions? Well, feel free to reach out to myself, Kelly, Vaibhav, or Phil if you have any questions. Really, the last thing we just wanted to cover is, how to get started. This isn't simply just turning on a button. Feel free to schedule a call with us here at Cadeon. We're happy to talk you through the process and what that approach looks like. We've put a plan together to do either a proof of value or proof of concept within your organization or a full-blown implementation. And we can help you with the architecture on the infrastructure side, as well as getting your users ready and set up. And we can really kind of walk you through, what does the architecture readiness have to look like? How do we download the license so that you guys can use it? And then we can help you with implementation and some of that prompting training that Kelly was talking about. So really special thanks to Vaibhav for joining us today. In spite of the power issues he was having, and of course our in-house certified trainer Kelly Blair, who is always fabulous to listen to. So thank you, each and every one of you, for attending. We look forward to speaking with you all soon. And again, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.